10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, hi guys. It's Lori with the Capital Film Arts Alliance. Our webcast, CFAA Film Talk, is being brought to you again by our sponsors, which is nobody. No, actually, you're all our sponsors. Our members are our sponsors, and the people that subscribe and donate are the ones that help keep the train on the track. So thank you for doing that. We have some incredible guests that we have just happening this month. One of them tonight is one of my oldest, dearest friends in the film community. And I can't wait to talk to you more about what she's got going on. So just to let you know, again, if this is your first time watching or being involved in the CFAA, the Capital Film Arts Alliance is the largest association of active filmmakers, actors, writers, editors, crew, anybody who's in that creative community in the Sacramento, Northern California region. For the most part, they have had a connection to us. We have had a connection to supporting them and encouraging all of our local talent to grow. So with that in mind, everything that we're bringing to you on a webcast, we're certainly hoping that we're making great connections to you and introductions, but that you're learning something as well. We will be continuing to work on those kind of programs and present them to you soon, so stay tuned. You can sign up for our newsletter. It's free. It's on our website. Just go to capitalfilmarts.org and click where it says sign up on the newsletter. And then that way you can make sure that you're getting the information. Some of it comes out late because that's just kind of the nature of the business. So don't ever think that, there's old news in there. We try and keep it very fresh. And also if you have anything to submit or to share or announce, we're happy to get it out there. We've got over 5,000 people that are reading the information that we're sending out. So that's how we continue to strengthen our community, is keep everybody communicating. So tonight, oh my gosh, it seems like it was forever ago, but when we were holding our 3 times a month meetings and having our annual after holiday party with all of you. We also were presenting our annual President's Award. And the last recipient of that is our guest tonight, Sally Forcier, who is the owner of Forcier Casting and Productions. I always say she's a force to be reckoned with, and it is kind of a cliche because of her name, but it's so true. Sally's company and the work that she's done to grow not only herself and her own business, but her skill set and her dreams and her goals and aspirations as a creative entity. So for casting, certainly, she is the go-to person for teaching, learning about acting, auditioning, and several different outlets that are related to that craft. She is a go-to person to talk to. And in addition, she's now become extremely prevalent in the productions that she's worked on. And in the last 3 years, she's produced 5 feature films, which is an incredible amount. And one of them is slated for distribution this year. So before the year is over, we will see yet one more film that Sally has produced, and she will talk a little bit more about it. What she's here to talk about tonight, though, is her, this is her wheelhouse, man, acting and supporting actors, and most importantly, making sure that actors are engaged in the community that they're a part of, and that they know what role they fit and how to perform in that role, not just as an actor, but as someone who is a part of that on-set community. It's really important to know the protocols and to follow them because it's part of your professional level of expectation. So lots of things that she's going to be talking about tonight. We encourage you to chime in through the comments to submit any questions that you have. But with no further ado, let's throw Sally up here and say hi. Okay, there we go.
Hey.
I'm waiting for Steve to do that.
Hey girl, how are you?
Hi, honey. Oh my gosh, it would be so much better if it was in person, because
For
then
sure.
we would do it in the daytime. We would do it in your backyard on the
That's
side of
right.
the pool with something really exciting in our glasses.
Yeah, the really strong water, right? No, I hear you. I mean, honestly, I think we're all itching to be together, be social, be networking, and I have to give you a huge shout out, Lori. I really appreciate what you've been doing with the CFA talks, because that has been keeping us connected, filling at least some part of the industry and hearing and growing and learning still, even though we sometimes don't feel like it. It's been a really tough year, but we are so close to getting past this, you guys. And because of all your hard work and efforts and really pivoting into, leaning into what you can still do, you have continued to prove to our film community what you're willing to do to keep us together, keep us networking, keep us growing. And I appreciate you. And I constantly send people your way to tell them, make sure you get on her email list, because you have so much opportunities for actors and crew members alike to learn and grow from. And so I just want to personally thank you for all your hard work and maintaining the connection. Yeah. You're one of my favorite peoples, girl. And all your board. I know there's a team behind you, and none of this can happen with just one person. And I hope everyone watching gives a shout out to everybody on your board. I know Steve and Aaron and Rick, and I'm going to forget people, so I'll just say Jack and many, many more.
I know, we have a really big group, and everybody has a very integral part of what they do and how they, kind of help keep things afloat. And we're so lucky, because in a lot of nonprofits, it's a revolving door with people coming in and going out. And we've had a really stable team that has really allowed us to stay, kind of, we had about a 5 or 6 week window where after everything shut down, we weren't quite sure what to do, because we had so many plans that were related to being in person, educational and exhibition and training, and then all of a sudden that all just went out the window. So
you're always so thoughtful in your introduction. So I would just want to make sure I shout out back to you. I mean, you are a force to be reckoned with, girl. And it's cool, because what people don't realize is the membership that comes with CFAA brings so much, because you have a prestigious board of expertise, everybody who is passionate about this industry. I mean, that says a lot, that your board members get on there and they stick, and you all work so well together. And I just appreciate, I mean, we're coming up on a year almost, and this is crazy. And you guys have given us something to keep connected. And that, I mean, I appreciate that so much. So thank you to you and your board and all you do. It's amazing.
Takes a village. I say that every time we do this, but it's so true. And I, when I talk about you to people, I'm never, I'm always talking about the most recent thing, but your bread and butter and the thing that you are, your reputation is solid and so long-term is with the casting company. And I think that the opportunities that people have in connecting with you are to learn, but also you're actually somebody who is producing and who is, responsible for a lot more than just helping somebody else cast their project, or
which I'm lucky. I feel very lucky that I can wear many different hats. I mean, I'm in Sacramento. It's not like I can just live on casting alone, but I've been coaching.
Not yet. Where's Jen? Come on, girl, get it rolling.
I mean, casting will always be my first love, casting and consulting actors. I actually started consulting before casting, before I was an actor, right? And I just feel really fortunate because when I'm coaching, I actually come from that. I come from so many different perspectives. The actor in me, the casting director in me, the producer in me. So I could share all these different dynamics, and that's anybody who's been a student of mine can attest to that. But so I feel lucky that I have so many things that I get to do, and I love all of it. But casting, you're right, has been my first big baby. In fact, we celebrated 21 years in October of casting.
Wow.
And I, with that 21-year anniversary, I launched a brand new website. Thank God. It was like 3 years in the making. And boy, if there's one good thing that came out of COVID, it was launching the new website. And with that, it allows actors to create their own database that they can change and update on their mobile or desktop. And then that profile is able to be seen by clients who, by the way, have to get past. I vet every single person who has to go in and see their actual information. They have to register as a client. And then once I check them out, make sure they're the real deal, then they can get access to see the stats, the resume, all of that stuff. So I just want to say it's a really exciting new website and database for any actors who are looking to get cast for extra work, principal, major roles. That is the best way to get exposure to all my clients. I'm about ready to do a huge outreach program to all ad agencies, production companies near and far, using all the contacts I've worked with over the 21 years. So I'm really excited. I mean, it's definitely a good thing that I had the time with COVID to be able to focus on that and actually get it launched, ironically, on my 21st anniversary month. So that was kind of crazy. Not planned, by the way.
Oh, wow. Well, and I think that's important. You mentioned something that's really important because from a casting standpoint, we think in terms of, when are we going to get big films to come to Sacramento? But there's an incredible amount of work on the commercial side, on the, the spokesperson, on the voiceover.
Yeah.
There are things that have nothing to do with feature films that we're hoping, come from Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I think is really important to reiterate to people as well.
It is important, and it's important for anybody watching. Hi, y'all, by the way. If you're watching and you're like, well, I'm not really an actor. I don't know where to start. You could still work in commercials. You could be an extra. So, registering with us doesn't put you in one category. It keeps you open for all the options that you're ready for. And I mean, just last year alone, even during COVID, we cast for a couple commercials. One is actually, I just posted the actual end result on our Facebook page on Forcier Casting, and it's for the Tri-Counties Bank. We did that, shot that July and August. But then Golden One Credit Union, we did casting for right before COVID, and that's sitting in the can right now because it's definitely not COVID friendly. It wasn't based on that at all. So there's all kinds. I mean, we did casting for Facebook commercials. We did casting for, major and small local productions for commercials. So we cast everything that comes into the Sacramento Valley and beyond, Yosemite, Reno, up in Eureka and Redding. So we're kind of all over the place, and it makes my life not dull, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Yosemite, I hope you guys know that you can shoot in our national parks without permit fees. I just posted something in our most recent newsletter about that, which I thought was kind of fascinating.
Awesome. That's awesome to know, man. That's usually what people steer clear of in production is, a national park, forget that. So that's great. I'll go check it out on your website.
Yeah. Okay, so let's hear a little bit about what you've got cracking right now, because you have a whole new workshop. It's something that you haven't done before. It's a 3-part. Are you doing 3 weeks? I said 3-part.
It's 3-part, spread over 3 Wednesdays. Okay. So basically, you know this, Lori, you're a producer. When you're in production, you're always looking ahead. And with COVID, that's all I've been trying to do is look ahead. And trying to weigh what can we do? What does our actors and our local community need to be ready for? I feel my prediction is that, of course, the no-brainer is all these films that were in the can. I had 2 that were in kind of the early pre-production stages, had to be put on hold because of COVID. So all of those films, especially independent films, have been sitting in this can. So it's kind of been backlogged. So I feel like our actors really need to be ready. And from a casting director perspective, it's a win-win. You know, people for some reason don't realize this, but if they look good, we look good, we're going to get those clients coming back for more castings. So we really work together from a talent casting director perspective, right? And for me, what I started seeing is like, well, obviously it's 100% self-taping now, and auditions are happening. They're happening via self-tape. And so if you don't know self-taping skills, that is definitely a training you might want to take. Right now, I've just been doing one at a time. People who need it, they hire me for an hour, and I go through all their setup. I give them homework for them to send an actual self-tape to me, like a faux audition. But what I've been seeing is the self-tape quality for those who maybe didn't have either the proper training or they didn't realize, you know, how to do it. There's a lot of obstacles when you start combining technical and craft, meaning your acting craft. And so what I'm feeling is, I was like feeling like there needs to be a kind of a reminder to our community to be ready for these films to start getting the green light to start producing, meaning you're going to have more opportunities to audition. And it's kind of a twofold, because over the 3-week class, the first week, it's basically a faux audition. We're going to take one script and we're going to allow certain characters and actors to audition. And so the first week, they're actually, when they sign up, they need to send me their headshot and resume via email and say, you know, it's in the subject line or whatever, say submitting for audition and comma film class. And then I'm going to look at who you are, what you look like, what role you fit, just like I would. I'm going to be working on the back end as if I'm casting a real project. And then you're going to get the sides. You're going to get the audition technique breakdown, all the tips, directions that you need. You'll have the deadline. And then I will then submit to you, hey, congratulations, you've been booked. So the first class is actually, you've already been working on it. And we're going to review not all, but some of the audition submissions. We're going to talk about self-taping. We're going to talk about some points that I saw were missed in some of these auditions. And so that will be probably the most class-like setup. But we're going to actually, I'll screen share some auditions that I get permission to use in the class. And it's just is going to be a great way. You never get feedback from a casting director. So it's a great way for actors, for you to hear from me of what you can do better, lighting, character choices. I mean, a lot of that, and we're going to go deeper into explaining that in a minute. But week 2 is after you've been officially booked on the film, right? Our faux project. Mm-hmm. Week 2 is going to be a table read. Many people, actors out there have told me, and I've seen it on projects that we actually hire people. They'll come up and say, I've never been to a table read before, you know, and it's just a cool thing. Laura, you've been through, I'm sure, you know, hundreds of them. But when you go through a table read, I'm sure you can attest to the fact that there's this amazing energy, opportunities to connect with the characters, hear from the other cast members, start building on chemistry with them, finding ideas for your character. So it's part of the process. And many times, this is the first time the writer may have actually got to hear the whole film read out loud, and especially from people who are passionate and excited. So table read will be the second week, right? And all this is happening, by the way, March 10th, which is a Wednesday. And this happens to be a Wednesday, Wednesday, March 10th, then week 2 is the 17th. And then the final class, this is going to be fun. The final class is actually, so you are now getting ready to actually walk on set, your on-set experience. We're going to go through all the tips and tricks about that. So it's kind of, you know, we'll go into more detail if you want about all of those. But at the end of the day, the actor's going to get hands-on experience of what it's like to go through that whole process before going on set. And the reason why I thought this was really important is because, again, getting back to my casting experience versus my production experience, when I produced those 5 films, one thing I noticed in casting, usually we're done. By the time they start production, we're just doing like extras casting at that point, right? We've already done all the deal memos for the actors. And by the way, we'll talk about that. We've already, sent out the schedules, the sides, the scripts, all the stuff. So we're pretty much just managing and making sure the extras are done. And a lot of times that's a big task. On 2 of the 5 films, we had hundreds of extras. And some films I had extras every day, so usually you get lucky when you have, okay, week 1 you have 2 days of extras, week 3 you have 3 days of extras, and week 4 none. I mean, that's sometimes the case, but in the films I've worked on, I haven't been so lucky. I've always had like, okay, the main casting's done, but now we need to focus on extras, and it's a lot of work on our end. So I'll share some of those stories with you guys as well. But that's pretty much the 3-week is the audition, which starts before the 10th, where you submit a self-tape, the audition class where we talk about the auditions, the self-tapes, how to, look at your auditions, your requests when I'm inviting you to the audition. Did you hit all those marks? Did you make sure you sent the self-tape according to the guidelines we requested? All those things. Week 2 is the table read. And that's where you meet the faux director and the faux producers, and you read your character. And this is all via Zoom. And then week 3 is going to be the onset. We're going to talk about call sheets. We're going to talk about wardrobe, how to get, when you're developing your character and you're working with the costumer, how to let that help you build your character choices. We're going to talk about physicality and movement and things like that. And then once you're on set, who is your point person and, what to bring to set with you. I mean, all the things that actors don't think of, because now in a production that I've been on, I've seen my actors come in and they didn't know these things. And guess what? It affected their performance.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it. And I felt so awful because at that time when I'm on production, I'm not able to be the coach necessarily, with the exception of a liner here or two. I'm not able to say, oh, you didn't know this? It's just, so, we're going to go over sides, call sheets, things like that, and how to use all these tools and the crew to your benefit.
Perfect. I think that that's from beginning to end, and it also even doesn't matter if it's a new set or something you've done before. You always have something to learn. You always can expand your skill sets and your experiences with just the type of set and the type of people. As I mentioned, as I was introducing Sally, she and I are passionate about making sure that when Sacramento has a chance to get hired, that they get hired and they get talked about like, I can't believe how great they were. That was a perfect addition to our set. That was somebody who really came in and pulled their weight. When we hear that, we know that everybody's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure.
That person showed up late. They weren't prepared with their lines. They walked in the door and acted like they owned the place. That screws it for everybody.
Thank you. And because you and I are very simpatico that way, we are very protective of the Sacramento market. Sure, not everybody's on the same level of experience, knowledge, confidence. But I think what happens, Lori, is sometimes actors or even crew, I've seen it in crew, they come in and to compensate for the lack of confidence, they come in a little cocky. And you can't, there's something to be said about having, as much confidence as possible, but don't cross the line into that's gone too far. We need to preserve the attitude that Sacramento has great talent and great crew. And the only way we can do that is by knowledge. And that's why I offer these classes. It's to me, it's a win-win. I'm giving back. I'm dedicating, not just the hours in class, but the hours of prep. To hopefully educate so that we get more Sally and Lori's out there who are passionate about the film market. And we are so lucky that we do have a lot of great people who also share that passion. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. In production, I can't tell you how many people go, do you really have good crew up there? Do you really have good actors in Sacramento? These are LA, anybody from outside. And I am of the belief, and I know, Lori, you believe this too, that Sacramento can hold its own, and this bad reputation or attitude, mentality, whatever you want to call it, I think is going to start seeping away. Now that we have the digital age here and we're virtually auditioning, we're virtually doing callbacks, this is the time for us to really prove that we're not going to be lazy and that we're going to do the same amount of hard work. The only difference between LA actors and us here in Sacramento is that they have more experience auditioning. So their confidence grows by, auditioning. So if you don't have the opportunity to audition every single day, then God help us, because that could be a bad thing if you're not training. So you have to take like some initiative somehow, some way. And if finances are a concern, then work with other actors that you can practice with, not coach each other, practice with. Get online. There's master classes. There's amazing programs that you can take from home, and then implement that at home. Set up your own faux auditions with your fellow actors, and just practice, because the more that they get proactive, the more this, and they show up and they look good, like you were saying, this less this stigma is going to be an issue, because it is an issue for us trying to get the jobs here, trying to secure a production to shoot here, and convince them. I'm in the early stages on that end of going, oh no, we have great actors. Oh, we have incredible crew members. But now when I get you in front of them, that's now up to you to bring it home. I tee it up for the actors, for all of you watching, and it's up to you to bring it home. So that's my passion, Lori. Just kind of got off a tangent there, but that's what I get excited.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can teach all kinds of different technical and other specific skills, but attitude is something that you can't teach. You can only encourage. And, we've both been, I don't know if it's lucky, but to be able to have been in that situation where we can see the wrong attitude at the wrong time, and how that flavors the set, and how that flavors the experience and the reputation of everybody. When somebody gets hired and they're referred by a casting director, that casting director is putting their reputation on the line. So if the actor fails, in the eyes of the producer, the casting director fails. There's like a trickle down effect that, we just make sure that when we have the opportunity to work, that we're just working the shit out of it and doing a good job.
A good story is, Lori, you came to visit me on set that I was producing my last movie. I think it was in Rancho Cordova when you came down, and it was actually that day that I'm going to try to keep this loose because I don't want to call anybody out, but I had somebody on set that really was inappropriate. And we had some issues behind the scenes, but I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, where it's like leading up to the actual day of, I thought, okay, well, maybe she doesn't get it. I'm sure once they get on set, it'll be fine. And I took a risk on that person. And then that person really crossed the line. And so I think this is where I want people to understand. I have a wealth of knowledge and stories and experiences I can share with you to help you avoid having that bad experience. And by the way, getting on the bad side of the casting director who has control of getting you on set and not. There's no power play here on my end. I want everybody to work, and I'm going to fight for you. But I need people, the actors, to also do your part and understand the proper protocols, which is why week 3 is actually working on set. What are those protocols? What do I need to prepare for? What do I need to bring? People assume, oh no, there's a whole crew there. They're going to take care of everything. I don't even have to bring a change of underwear, or whatever it is. And so, and you remember that day, Lori, I'm talking about when you came on the set in Rancho Cordova, how many people were in the small little space, which was an MMA gym and a small little parking lot. I mean, how many people would you say?
And it was raining.
And it was raining. I mean, how many people do you think you saw that? I was personally managing every aspect of that. A lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at least 50 to 65 people. And this was a small, take a small little, I don't know, probably 1,100 square foot gym with a small parking lot out front with 2 RVs and all the other things that come with making a movie. So that's what I'm trying to say is, in production, when we get there, we're finally on set. My casting assistants, I always, when a big extras day, I always make sure they're there to kind of be the liaison between, the production and the talent. That way, you have a point person. So those are some of the tips that we're going to share in that class. And what I really love about the audition process is, obviously, I'm passionate about that. I love seeing actors get booked. It makes me so happy. In fact, if I can, I usually call them. I'm like, hey, guess what? You got the job. I get all excited, and that's one of my wins. For me is seeing actors I believe in get the part. Because there's so many cases that actors who earn the part, who deserve the part, don't get it, and it could be a million reasons. But what you need to remember is you're not always going to know that. You're not going to always know why you didn't get the audition, why you didn't get booked. So that's why I thought this class was kind of unique in the fact that the week 1, I'm going to be able to go over how, in that first class, what I saw on these self-tapes and how we can do better, or what I liked. How did you prepare? And I'll be able to ask some questions. For example, let's just say, I'm doing a comedic casting. And if I mention it's a comedic casting similar to a movie and you don't know that movie, go look it up. For example, Ballbuster. A lot of people said it was similar to that Ben Stiller movie. Now you play basketball. Now I can't think of it. But, when I give a quote of a movie, that do your research, right? So that you start preparing how big of comedic is this movie, or how subtle is it? So wouldn't you agree, in comedy, there's different layers? I mean, it's not just a black and white thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the things. Know the genre, but not just the black and white, dramatic to comedic, or dramedy, but like, is it subtle comedy? Or, I love action comedies. That's one of my favorite. We just watched Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I was laughing out loud, but I like the action too, And so, I think if you know the genre, and I give an example of the comparison, do your research, and know that's going to help you to prepare and make bigger choices. So, for example, Ballbuster, it's out now. You can check it out. I think it's on Prime, maybe. I don't even know. It's on a couple of different platforms.
I think it's on everything but Netflix.
Everything but Netflix.
Yeah.
And it was literally over the top comedy. Okay. I stated that in my casting notices. I'm going to give you as much information as I possibly can without giving away too much, because there is mystery in, scripts and auditions and things like that. But for example, there was one scene. So I did give a reference of that other movie that it was similar to, that was over the top, Ben Stiller and all his crazy movies. And I had this actor come in, and he's supposed to be a ball player. And, I told, we had a basketball there because we were in a big studio, lots of space, had a hoop up there, or a fake hoop up on the wall. And I'm like, all right, so now we're going to go ahead and, he did his audition, which was, I could tell he was prepared. And a casting director usually can tell if you prepared or if you're really a fish out of water. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about, is how much research to do and how to prepare, not just reading the lines. It's never enough just to read the lines. You got to make some choices, right? Well, this one guy, I have to give him a shout out, because he not only showed up with a basketball, I didn't ask him to bring one, and he knew he was auditioning for one of the ball players that had a couple of lines. And after we did the scene, and I thought, he's great. Okay, cool. Let's come over here to where our fake basketball hoop is, and just do a couple layups for me. And he just like, a what? And I went, layup, like do a layup. And he just looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, oh, like I thought he looked the part. He acted the part. He had this era of like, I am a ball player. And, it was kind of like,
that's really funny.
And so that's what I mean by doing your research, showing up, and making sure you're prepared. We all eventually laughed at it, and eventually he got cast. So it was kind of funny, because I knew that the part wasn't really going to require him playing a whole lot of ball. He ended up sitting on the bench, but he was in the movie. You know what I mean?
Okay, as long as he looked like a ball player, and I was going to ask about that, because I think that a lot of times actors think that they can fudge the preparedness. But I believe, even if you're cast, when you show up on set, the directors can certainly tell whether or not you've prepared. And do you focus on that? Is that something that you see?
Yeah.
As well?
Yeah. So here's a few tips I'm going to give away for free here, okay? Because it's really important, you guys, that I need you to understand when you're preparing the audition is your job in the audition is to what, Lori? What's your guess? What's the number one goal when auditioning?
To sell yourself. I mean, to be yourself.
And what's the number one objective to auditioning? Is booking the job, right?
Yeah, booking the job.
Booking the job. Okay. But yes, to sell yourself, you were right about that too. But selling yourself, but more telling the truth of the character. Okay? Telling his or her truth. And when they do that and they do that properly, you will accomplish the goal of getting the booking or at least the callback, right? So tell the truth of the character, get your foot in the door, get the job. Now the real work starts where you start taking on, physicality, understanding your character, change what is his or her look. Understand that, there's going to be moments for you to add, like Columbo. Does anybody remember Columbo out there? For the younger ones, they're going to be like, what the heck is she talking about? Well, it's a detective show, and he was constantly walking around like this, right? And it's like his character's constantly thinking. That was so he had a tick. His character had a tick, and that was doing this. The truth of the story is he was back then, if you don't hit your mark on TV, you get fired. And in their contracts, they can't fire you right away. They have to give you 2 weeks. So he knew he was going to lose a job because he kept missing the mark. And therefore, back then, the focus was out, right? So long story short, he had to figure out how he was going to save his job. And the way he did it was he created a tick. So everybody's got ticks. Some people are constantly, fussing with their hair or.
That's interesting. I never heard that before.
Yeah, it's true. I heard it from, it was, how it's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It was like 2 degrees to that guy, whatever his name is. But yeah, he was like, oh yeah, I was on set and somebody, the camera guy told me he was going to lose his job. And it was true. I mean, and he ended up going on to have a long career, like a long running show, huge success on the show Columbo.
Yeah.
So when you're now from the time you're booked to the time you're showing up on set, and this is why the table read in the middle of this class is helpful, because now you're going to be able to go, oh, okay, so that's who's reading for her. Oh, that's him. These are my cast members, and I'm going to be, this is the relationship with that guy. You start getting a sense of who you need to be. And that's where the real work becomes in creating that character. But if you don't do something in the beginning in the audition and you just look like you're reading and you're not telling his or her truth and you're not authentic, you're not even going to get that far. Okay. So some of the things you can do is to definitely dive deeper into understanding the history of the character, the genre, the story, and do your research. Big tip is do your research. Is there anything that you can see in comparison? Okay, so for example, if it's a movie about a pop star and a musician, go watch documentaries on real musicians. Go to YouTube. I mean, there's so much out there. You guys have to remember you have the internet. We didn't have the internet when we got started. So, right? Amen, Lori?
What are you talking about?
Oh, come on, girl. Don't you dare. So do your research. And, when your character is, for example, she's got to have, maybe she's an alcoholic, or maybe she has gone through a loss, or her spouse, do your research, watch similar movies, read about the characteristics of mourning, read about characteristics of recovering alcoholics. I mean, things that you need to know, and then decide what ticks you can bring in and what personality traits and things like that. And that from there, when you start developing who you are, then you start thinking about what wardrobe would she wear. I have a true story. Okay, so we were casting for Apparition, which is also out on streaming. And trust me, this is not shameless plugs. It's just kind of slipping them in there. So I guess that is a shameless plug. But Apparition is also out on streaming, I think Prime as well. It's where I bought it. So Apparition's a horror movie, and it starts off with this drug addict mother flipping out on our kids. I mean, really intense scene. I mean, I had like warn all my neighbors in the buildings. I used to be at the studio center. I'm like, hey, there's going to be some yelling going on. Okay. Like, this is an intense scene. Like, she's screaming, yelling at her kids. Well, this one gal, I've never auditioned her before. And she is amazing. Like, I had no idea when she walked in. I literally thought, I'm like, are you lost? Like, who are you? She dressed the part so much. And she didn't even want like any of the niceties. She was just, you know, there are actors who are like that are very method. I teach more of the Meisner technique, making those choices to create that. But this girl was just, she walked in with this essence of the character, dressed the part. Her hair was all, you know, messed up, really thin looking. And she just like, I mean, she nailed it. She got booked. And she was yelling and screaming, you know, reading with my reader who was playing the little boy. And literally she turned to me and she was like, oh my God, like freaking out. So, you know, sometimes, you know, you can do so much in prep. The rest has to be research, and it has to be the wardrobe, dress the part, figure out the physicality, and then let him or her come through. And at the end of the day, and this is one more tip on the auditions, is you've got to let go of the ego. Okay. The ego is going to want to edit and filter what you do and what you say. And ego's not always a bad thing. Okay. Sometimes the ego can serve us well, right? And that is, you know, when I'm in a job interview and, you know, I'm not going to let out a big old belt or something, you know what I mean? So the ego is there to protect us, but also the ego is there. It grew with us as we were children. The ego started growing stronger and stronger, telling us how to look good and be right, right? When we try to look good and be right, how do you think a character is going to show up, Lori? It's not, right?
Yeah.
You essentially get in the way of your character because you're trying to look good and be right. And that is why I recommend working with a coach. A coach can start seeing your potential, know that you can get past this, start seeing the ego show up and getting in your way, and they can keep you accountable to getting past that. Because in this case, practice does make perfect, and that is letting go of that ego and watching it when it shows up of like, am I just trying to say the right thing here, or am I actually being authentic? So when you're authentic, that means to the character. Okay. Once you create your character choices and you're authentic, then you're going to be able to tell his or her truth. So those are the, you know, just a few things is understand the physicality of your character, understand the wardrobe. Those things will help really bring the final touches. And at the end of the day, make more, bigger, stronger choices. Maybe it's more eccentric. Maybe it's more interesting, or maybe it's just more human, you know, what is, you know, be strong and bold, be bold in your choices and your audition.
And that's what helps make you stand out, because I think that's an important part. Talk a little bit about that too. What helps you stand out in an audition? And I think you really just kind of encompassed it in what you just said. But
yeah, I think, you know, it really comes down to doing something different, understanding what, you know, is before you on the script, on the sites. Okay. You read it with the intent and read it to try to understand what the intention of the writer. What did the writer intend? Okay. That's the beginning, really. If I see a hint of comedy or a hint of sarcasm, then dive deeper into that. That's going to help with that to make you stand out. You have to understand a writer writes something, and then at the end of the day, they go back and they go, I don't know what the actor's actually going to do. In film is the only place that you can play with it. And a lot of times in auditions, we'll say, make it your own. Have fun with it. That is literally telling you, you don't have to stick to the words here, right? We wrote it. And if you understand the intention of the writer, you know, subtle comedic reactions or lines. I mean, an example is The Good Wife is a dramatic lawyer type show, episodic show. And even though it's dramatic, there are still comedic lines and moments. So look for those moments and understand what the writer intended. And then you go bigger with those choices. That is going to make you stand out in audition. And in fact, more often than not, I'll see something in an audition. I'm like, oh, that was a really good choice. Like, not only did they get my attention and I'm now going to be vying for them to get the part, I will actually go, I think that's great. And I might turn my direction more in that area or that arena. Not that I'm stealing their idea, but it was more like, I think the director, knowing that what the director and producer want, I think they're going to like seeing more of that. You know what I mean? In these auditions. So when you show up making big choices, you're going to make an impression on me. And you have to remember, this is all you actors that are watching right now. You got to remember, if you don't book the job, it's okay. Win over the casting director, right? Because if you win me over, and usually I'd get anywhere from 15 to 30 jobs in 1 year, or 5 huge projects. So I'm seeing a lot of actors throughout the year for a lot of different projects. And so if you win over the casting director, I'm going to be seeking you out more than just waiting for you to submit. More often than not, I send out notice that I say, hey, here's the job, here's the audition, and I wait for them to submit or show their interest. But if you have won me over, I might, hey, make sure so-and-so, you got to make sure I just sent out this notice. I want to make sure you audition for it, or I'll call their agent. Hey, I want to make sure, Mr. Joe Schmo is on this job, and make sure he shows up to my casting, So standing out really, it just shows, when I see that you've done the work, you've done your research, you're a strong, you really show up delivering, not just reading, then you're going to stand out and make a lasting impression.
How's casting different for film than for commercial? Because the commercial work is, again, often the bread and butter of a lot of local agency and design companies and people that are using actors year round, even though it's not in the feature film format.
Yeah, so the difference with commercials, I think one rule applies still. Do your research, right? Look at what they've used before, any of their past commercial ads, any of their past print ads. Even look at their color schemes, like, for example, what are the colors for Wells Fargo? Know that and kind of have an essence of that when you pick out your wardrobe. But I think, commercials, the biggest difference than film is you got to be verbatim with the script. And this is where, you need to be strong in cold reading. Cold reading is more common for commercial auditions than it is film. The only time you will use your cold reading technique in film is if, let's say, you showed up and I just literally heard from the producer, he's already filled this role. But yet we know that you would still fit another role. I might throw a different scene at you in a film, right then and right there. I give you 10 or 15 minutes, but that's it. So with a cold read, they generally don't want to release that out to anybody or any email or any, because it's very mysterious. It's very private. Yeah. They sign a non-disclosure, disclaimer. They can't talk about it. And so you really got to make sure cold reading technique. But when you read it, you got to sell the product. What is the product or the service? And stick to the script. You can't be off. You can't be improvising as much as you can in film.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, commercials are fun.
And so this class right now just kind of is it's a really broad stroke.
It's going to be great for a lot of reasons. For independent film, for industrial videos, for educational videos, because with film specifically, it doesn't matter if it's an industrial or PSA or something like that. The difference is table read you may not do for industrial or educational videos, but you're definitely going to audition and you're definitely going to want to know how to show up on set. So for majority of the work you're going to do, those 2 classes are going to be super, super helpful. A table read is just a fun opportunity. I just wanted to give the talent a chance to experience. It's a lot of fun. You get to see a lot of energy. You get, like I mentioned earlier, you definitely connect and get that chemistry, get a chance to meet all the individuals before you show up. Let me tell you, the first day you're showing up and even if you've been on set before, half dozen times, doesn't matter. When you're showing up and you have emotional scenes, you're carrying the movie, you have, there's more stress, more anxiety that comes over you. This table read gives you a chance to meet the other actors, understand the characters, ask questions to your writers are usually in the room, the director, the producers, and just get a chance to kind of kickstart you on your character development. And then we're also going to talk about on that class, how do you prepare looking ahead? How do you pull all your scenes and put them in chronological order? Because we shoot out of sequence all the time, 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a 24-hour or 48-hour challenge. So we're gonna hit so many things that you never will learn in an acting class. So I think that's what makes this class unique and different.
And important. I mean, really, because again, it's not just how to be a good actor, because that's a muscle you should really find a way to stretch, any opportunity that you have. But to understand the business and the expectation and the protocols of filmmaking, I think that just makes you even more equipped when you get hired. You come in with just a much more robust tool belt, in your mind of what to expect and how you can fit into that. And, it's so interesting because I see both in cast and crew, the reputations that are built on one project, and how people, when they prove themselves, are suddenly the it girl or the it guy when it comes to who we're going to hire or who's the go-to.
Absolutely.
I see people that, when they perform effectively in their role, they get hired, they get talked about, they get reputations. People are, that's kind of the rule of thumb for me, that when someone's really good, that because they're not the ones talking about themselves.
Oh yeah, when they're really good, people start talking for you, and then pretty soon I start going, "Oh crap, that means they're moving away someday soon." I'm gonna lose them, you know what I mean? So it's kind of bittersweet for me, but that's good. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what I want for everybody, is to move on, do well. I agree with you 100%, both cast and crew. It's always better for somebody else to sing in your praises, right? And know that, if you're coming from, somebody who worked, even like Dave Bungie, Gaffer, could be working on set with this one actress and say, "Hey, Sally, guess what? Oh my God, this girl's amazing." And he might even approach her and say, "You need to call Sally," So I get that all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's a wonderful thing. But at the end of the day, if you're not pulling your best work every time you show up, every time you audition, regardless if you think you're right for it or not. I mean, 100% of the time, if people think they're right for it, like, I'm so perfect because I'm auditioning for a nurse and I'm a nurse. And, I'm like, okay, you're not going to get it. It's like 90% of the time they're like disappointed. But eventually I have a gal, she's auditioning all the time for like NCIS, major stuff for Stars and NBC even. And I work with her on her self-tapes. When she needs help on self-taping, she'll hire me for half an hour. She'll be recording herself while I'm coaching her. And then at the end of our session, she has a really strong piece she's ready to send. And super proud of her. And I can't wait. But I know it's a matter of time before she's off to LA and out of our market. And it's so cool because now I know what she can do, and it's exciting. And when you have somebody like that, and I get a producer who calls me and says, "Sally, we don't have time to do a whole lot of casting. Who's your top 2 or 3 people here in the community that can pull this off?" That's the thing. That's what you're going to leave behind when you audition, and you have a strong audition or a strong booking. That reputation is going to help you excel in your career. Yeah. So having a great attitude, Lori, I thank you for bringing that up, because that's something we don't always talk about, but it is so true. Having the best attitude and respecting everybody on set. I don't care if he is the porta potty transport guy, or craft services. I have had people come up to me on one of my productions and say, your actor over there was bad mouthing that, your producer. I went, "What?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "No, that cannot happen on my set." It's just, should never happen. You should always know that word gets back to the people, that count. And so having a great attitude, even if it's been a 12-hour day and it's cold outside and it's raining and you're in a stinky gym, you just have to smile, bear through it. And, like our crew knows this, when you commit to a job, you carry it through. There's no quitting. You finish it out because you're only as good as your last job, right? So it's no different with actors. Right. You do your research. Try to know who is the producer, what's this production all about? Do I want to be attached to it? Can I commit to XYZ amount of time? And no, it is an independent film, so I'm likely going to work some really late, long hours and maybe only work total 1 or 2 of those 12 hours. It's not glamorous, guys. It may seem like it, but it's certainly not. It's
So let me ask you something, because I know that we have people that are looking to cast not just from a local market, but they have projects that they're looking to secure cast from outside of the market. Is that something that you have a hand in, can assist with as well?
Absolutely. I've done, out of those 5 films we talked about, I've done casting in San Francisco and LA. So I know, and then of course I've had actors also move on into those areas. And so my obvious reach is the Sacramento Valley and beyond. Like I said, I've done casting in Big Sur. I've done casting in Yosemite for Go RVing. But yeah, I've got productions. Most of my productions are from LA. So that's why I scream from the rooftops, like, please be ready and have LA caliber headshots, because again, it comes back to that mentality. Sacramento's not real actors. So if you want to help shift that stigma, get a professional LA caliber headshot. And I always refer people to Kelsey Edwards because she guarantees her work and she knows LA market. She's from LA. So when our producers are here and they ask me to submit headshots and they're seeing, half of them look like they're an iPhone photo, it's not good. I hear their feedback. And so I recommend people to her, and it's KelseyEdwardsPhoto.com is her website. I'll put it here for him to post. But when you do get professional headshots, honestly, it can take you, beyond, because right now with the era we're in and during COVID and budgets are tighter because of COVID, we are seeing them book a lot of people right from their headshots. So your headshots can really, actually, the investment, which isn't that much, it's going to get you at least your first job, if not more. So it does pay for itself, and it's really worth it to have a strong photographer that, and I know people locally can shoot some headshots, but they're just not consistent with their work and they're not up to par with LA caliber. So Kelsey Edwards, you're going to be in good hands. I believe she comes back in March. She'll be her first time back here since, I want to say, July. Maybe I think she tried once in July and the COVID was just too hard. So she ended up canceling. But so
we'll make we'll make sure everybody knows dates that when she's going to be here, and if they can schedule a time in advance, then Yeah,
my recommendation is just get on her Sacramento list. She has created a more affordable package for the actors here because she knows they're not all full-time actors like they are in LA. Usually it's a 3-look minimum. I think she's doing a 2-look package. And just get on her list, even if you're not ready. I think she's here March 14th, and then usually every 6 to 8 weeks after that. But I'm waiting for her to confirm. She just threw that date at me today, actually. But she tells me when it is, so I can just share it with you guys. And then, but what I suggest is just go to her website, email her, and say, hey, can you add me to the Sacramento wait list? And whenever you're ready, whether it's March or 2-3 months from now, they'll reach out. And then when all the stars align, you'll have some really great headshots you'll be proud of.
Yeah. And then where does she do those? Does she have a studio?
She rents out Dawn Satterley's photography studio. So that's like East Sacramento.
Okay.
So she'll just come in. She flies in. She's a superstar, this woman. I love her. She's like the biggest heart, sweetest girl. She'll tell you what kind of music you like, and she'll put it on her iPod or whatever she plays. And so yeah, look at him. He's all over it. Yeah. Back in the studio. So it's Franklin Boulevard. So she works with Don Satterley on when he's available. and locks in the date from there. And then she includes a makeup artist. So ladies, you just come clean face, hair ready. She's amazing. And she'll give you like wardrobe, what you should wear. So if you're brand new, you're like, I don't know what to do. She'll walk you right through that process and make sure you get a good theatrical, serious, comedic, commercial, smiling headshot, and even a 3/4 shot. So a couple different looks so that you'll be ready to roll. She's awesome.
I think, more than anything, people just need to decide if they're going to invest in doing this, from a career standpoint. At some point, as you're pursuing this and spending your time, you really should look to fine tuning all the different skill sets and all the muscles that you can have. And there are typically, although not so much now because of COVID, but several different instructors who offer classes and different techniques and different formats and formulas. And I would encourage certainly everybody to look into those as much as possible.
Absolutely. Can I just mention what I love about both private and workshop scenarios?
Yeah.
Because they're both amazing and both really needed for every actor. So
and you can do both. You can do it
absolutely.
all.
Absolutely. I only typically, that's why if you want to train with me in a group setting, an affordable setting as a group, this film class is awesome because I haven't done a group class since last summer. And the reason is I really love private coaching. The reason I like that is I see so much progress from the actor because sometimes, so I'll go pros and cons. Cons on a big workshop is you will hear instruction, you'll be able to and digest it, but the con is you're not really going to get on camera as often as you should. And that is the purpose of on-camera training, is actually getting on camera and getting critique from your instructor or your coach. Okay, so that's the con of workshops. The pro on private is it's 100% you on camera, right? So we do all the acting technique, but here's what I love about it. I can interview you, ask a couple questions, have you do a read, and then I know on the scale where you fit and where you need to be. And I start immediately assessing how I can get you there quicker. Okay. So private coaching is kind of my game. And all this can be found on my website, forciercasting.com. But workshops I love because here's the thing. When you are in the middle of a workshop and you have to read in front of the entire class, it's scary, it's freaky, and you end up kind of blacking out on what they tell you. And you go sit down, and you're like, what did they just say? I don't even know. And then all of a sudden now you kind of settle in, the nerves calm down, and you're listening and watching them work with somebody else. So you can learn and see from, I think, a casting perspective of like, oh, that's what she means. Okay. So that's where a workshop's kind of cool,
You just need that guinea pig to be first.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to go, oh, me, I'll go first. So, but I do love classes. I did end up giving up my space on Howe Avenue during COVID because I was never there, and I still wouldn't be meeting there anyway. So I had to make that hard decision, but I will find another space here when things change. Meanwhile, I'm doing all my classes and my coaching and my casting via Zoom. So my coaching sessions are, you can either just book an hour, or you can do a self-tape, or you can sign up for the advanced talent program. But that's something you have to send me your information, and I make sure, you're a good fit for the advanced talent program. Mm-hmm. But I think we have a question, Steve says.
Yeah, we do. We have Adriel Salcido. I know this is for film, but are there any tips for auditioning for a reality TV show? Moreover, for a competition show like Big Brother or The Challenge. We actually have just posted recently in the newsletter through the gigslist.com site several reality castings that were going on. So that's
cool.
A question. Thanks, Adriel.
So hi, Adriel. How are you? I have done a couple of things. I actually did a gig pig casting for something like that. But the best advice I can give you, have really good audio, really good lighting. And when you're submitting your tape, be authentic, original, unique. bold. Okay. Now I don't mean over the top crazy, but find, like that goes back to the same thing we were talking about earlier, which is research, right? Watch past previous Big Brother shows, see what kind of characters are on there, and try to, take your uniqueness and bring, kind of that same tone of what they usually cast for. And I think that should help. But really, at the end of the day, if you do get booked on something like that, you're going to be playing you. So that's why I say start with you. It's not about building a character, but then enhance it based off of what their typical casting looks like. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They want people who are going to stand out and be watchable.
Yeah. So it's true. And they do look for drama, by the way. They always find somebody to instigate drama on their shows. I mean, it's like they're puppeteers in the background. That's why I don't do that kind of producing.
I know.
But you definitely want. That's why you got to turn up the volume on your normal traits, but go bigger. What you end up feeling like in an audition is that you're like, if it was a scale from 1 to 5, you feel like you're giving me a 4-ish or a 5 almost. It reads as a 3. So you definitely got to turn up the volume on all your choices. And that's normal in an audition where you feel nervous, anxious, or whatever. We tend to subdue. We don't, so I just want to encourage you to kind of go up a notch.
Yeah. Okay. And then Connie Steinman. Hi, Connie.
Hi, Connie.
So website to register. I just want to, let's wrap up where we show the opportunities with the class. The class is October 10th through the
24th. So it's 3 Wednesdays, the 10th, 17th, and 24th. And unfortunately, it's not on my website. I am doing this by a Facebook promotion. I do want to say when Steve posts this link where you can go to my event page on Facebook, it will first at the top say free. It's not free. I'm sorry. I wish I could do it for free, but it's going to take a lot of time on my end. But it is super discounted. The reason it says free is because Facebook wants a little piece of the puzzle, and they want to, and I'd rather not do that to keep the price low for you guys. Yeah. And for you watching, you're getting a discount, by the way. So typically the class is $75. You're going to get it for $60. Okay. So what you're going to need to do, go to that link that he's just posted there for you. Thank you, Steve. And that'll take you to my event page. Click going, and then go to my email is in the description. Email me just like you would for a normal casting. You're going to submit and follow the instructions. Pay attention. It'll say put in the subject line. I'm not going to tell you because you're going to have to go to that link. And then you're going to submit, and then that'll send me an email saying you're interested. And then I'll send you either a PayPal or Venmo, or at the least we'll take a credit card. But I try to avoid those fees. So PayPal or Venmo is what I'm requesting for payment, but I'll send that all to you in an email. But once I see your headshot and your resume, I'll know what part I can send you for your audition.
Okay. Okay, I just cheated and I put the code in there.
That's okay. You're such a troublemaker.
What's the deal on the class? Do you have a maximum, or where are we?
Here's the trick.
People already sign up.
I'm vetting scripts because it really is going to depend. It's kind of one of those cart before the horse thing. Like, how many people am I going to be able to take? Here's the thing, guys. If I get to the point where I sell out too quick, because I have a couple scripts, I'm trying to use one full script for the entire class. But if I get too many,
feature, how big of a script do you want? Feature or short?
I would like to. I'm entertaining reading a feature film script for hopefully 10 to 12 characters. So that would limit our class to 10 to 12 students. However, if I end up getting 20 to 25, I'll just do 2 different classes. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So just bear with me. Be flexible.
I don't know if he's still on, but Jack, if you have, I know you guys have already been reviewing scripts, but not necessarily one that you haven't reviewed yet, but something that you think might be a good fit for this. Raise your hand or get a hold of Sally and see see what
Yes,
you can
please.
offer her.
Yeah, so I am kind of doing a call for scripts for this class, and I think it's great for the writer as well to get a chance to see it played out, to see it. This is not going to be for broadcast. Nobody else is going to see it but the participants in our class. So if you're a writer and you have a script that you think would work, I want you to send me a synopsis on that link to the class so you can be able to see what type of roles and amount of cast members we're going to have. But yes, for those CFA members or people watching today, send us your email, put in the email a body, put CFAA, and you're going to get that discount. It's okay. You're so cute, Lori. There we go.
You guys. Yeah, so do that sooner rather than later, just because.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to be out of town, just so you guys know, from the 27th through the 6th. I'll still be online, but I'm hoping that we're going to have pretty much everybody locked in before I leave. But when I get back, I'll definitely wrap it up. Okay. But I'm excited. I think we're going to have a blast in this class. It's so fun already.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be really diverse, and I love that. So Stephanie Davia, am I saying that right? Are there any tips on starting and creating a good resume when her only experience so far has been high school theater productions and acting classes and some private coaching?
Stephanie. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think what you need to remember, the purpose and sole objective to a resume is identity. So, it's okay that you don't have a lot of experience. This is where it begins. Right? Yeah. So you'll want to make sure you have your height, your weight, your phone number, your email, and then you'll just start straight away with your theater productions and then your training and go into detail. Whenever there's a camera involved, put the camera. So if it's scene study, but you were on camera, put on camera scene study. That helps us in casting know, okay, she doesn't have a lot of on-set experience, but she has a good deal, because that is the one area you can change, right? You can have some control over is your training. So it helps us to know, like, okay, I can take a chance on her for this role or that role. So there's something out there for everyone. So yeah, get started. That's the best thing to do, is just get started.
Yeah, totally. And Jack just chimed in and he said, get him the info and he'll send it out to the writers tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you, Jack.
Earlier to reach both him and Jack, scripts@capitalfilmarts.org. You can send an email to both of them and then they'll.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if people watching know this, but there's a great script writing support team, 2 people on the board, in fact. So definitely if you have scripts and you want to get it vetted out, this is a great way for you to do that.
Yeah, we have been, those guys have consistently maintained the Screenwriters Lab. Even when we stopped our in-person meetings, they just instantly diverted to Zoom and have been running strong from the very beginning. I don't think they even missed a month. So
good job, guys. Good job.
We applaud our screenwriters. Yay!
I have a question, Lori, for you.
Okay.
Would you be willing to sit on our table read as one of the producers?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
You're thinking, how can I observe without having to do anything actory?
You can be our producer.
I love our actors workshops, but I am not an actor. So when I'm the only one in the room and they're all getting up and doing the and exercises, and I'm like, that ain't
That's
me.
a Jason Bortz thing right there.
That is Jason Bortz. Jason was our very first art workshop, actors workshop director. So yeah. It's so funny that you picked that up.
All right. So for those watching, I want you to chime in with a yes on the comments if you want Lori to be our producer in this class for our film. She could be producer.
Wait, do I have to put any money into anything? Am I that kind of a producer?
You're going to be involved with the callbacks if you want to on the 10th. Then you'll sit on the table read on the 17th. And then if you want to be a part on the 24th, that would be great too. So be my guest, Lori, instead of me being your guest.
I will totally do that. And I also want to invite you back and everybody else that's watching on Tuesday, the 16th. So that is next Tuesday, not next Wednesday. This is a weird day that we're doing this on a Wednesday. But on Tuesday, the 16th, we have Mary. We have Larry Meistrich, who is an award-winning producer and distributor of content. I've known him and worked closely with him for several years, and he is going to be coming in and talking to us about a lot of things having to do with production. He's teaching film in New York right now. I have worked with him on so many levels of, not just production, but distribution and marketing. I was his distribution VP for 4 years before I'm
definitely there. Sign me up. I'll put it on my calendar right now.
Yeah, and he's one of those people that from the Golden Globes to the Academy Awards, he has been in that environment, and he has so many interesting stories to share that teach us about production and the business that is film, and the importance of that. So we're not going to bring him in to do the webcast, but we're looking at doing an extended workshop, and I'm really leaning towards pitching and financing, because that is the one area that it seems like everybody always gets very stuck on. And pitching, let me tell you, whether you're applying for a job as an actor, whether you're a producer that's looking for funds, whether you're a director who's trying to secure a particular actor, you have to pitch yourself or your projects in so many different ways in your life. So learning those skills,
really tough. Yeah. And let me tell you, don't do what I did. And that is just go for it. Well, you do have to go for it to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
But what I want to encourage people to do is, I've pitched to some TV networks and in different organizations down in LA. It is terrifying. Okay. So don't do what I did and not do your research, guys. I just thought, I know the content well enough. And I did okay, but could I have done better? Sure. And those are one of those things you don't want to wait until after the fact and then go, oh, I screwed that one up. I wish I would have done more research or whatever. So I would love to be a part of that any way I can help, because pitching is a very, very difficult thing, but a necessary evil.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it truly is something that I see the need. And in addition to that, as I was online, he's actually teaching a film class, and he invited me in as a producer for their table read of their content. And so I just played this role.
We know a good thing when we see it, girl.
But it dawned on me just how interesting he is, and how many great anecdotes he has, but really how much good advice he has. So I'm super happy to bring him in. Awesome. We'll be putting more information about that in the newsletter on the website. He's already out there, capitalfilmarts.org, again, for everything that we're doing. It goes onto the website first, and then we start farming it out a million different ways.
Awesome.
But we also are looking for other people. In the industry, the people that you look to that are your best. Maybe we bring Kelsey in to do a bit talking about headshots. And
love that. I think that would be very helpful to actors, because it goes back to like what we're talking about, the film class, how to prepare. How do you know what you need for a good headshot? How can you get comfortable with that? But yeah, I'm happy to send some more resources your way, and to keep doing what you're doing, Lori, and everybody behind the scenes, Steve Worsino, and team. So thank you again, you guys, and I appreciate everybody, chiming in and hanging out with us tonight on a Wednesday night. And if you're an actor who wants to get started and get exposure, I highly recommend you get involved with our database at forciercasting.com, because that is going to be huge. I'm literally about to start doing some major outreach to production companies, ad agencies near and far. So you don't want to miss out on that.
Excellent. Whatever we can do to support you, you know that we're here. You people who are here watching and wanting to jump into the next level of your career, you're in the right place. This is your tribe, and these are all people, or we have access to all people who can help you get where you want to go. So,
and we want you to succeed, everybody. So, we'll continue bringing what we can to you, but you got to do your part, get involved, do your own training, stay active, stay present, stay, relevant. And then it's just about not giving up. It's going to, follow your dreams and it will happen, whatever it ends up. I never knew I'd be here talking to you today 25, 26 years ago. So, you know what I mean? Things happen. Stick with it.
crazy. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Please jump in next Tuesday. Somebody is who's questioning? Steve King, Chris King is questioning. It is February 16th. It is Tuesday. Did I say March?
Don't get ahead. It's already going so fast. Don't always put us into March already.
Come on. I'm like 2 webcasts in 2 weeks. How do I handle that? So yeah, next Tuesday we'll be back here with Larry. It will be it'll be so interesting that you're going to want to sign up for whatever workshop we do, because you're just going to want to find out more about him and his crazy.
I'm excited. I'll definitely be there next week then, right? 16th.
Next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, same place, same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you, honey. I love you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, y'all.